Well, okay, a couple of quick comments. Regarding the questions you were asking early in the video, if you find yourself with a lot of time on your hands, and I don't imagine you will, and have some interest in, they're not, and not exactly my contemporary views on the subject, but they're still fairly representative regarding the abstractions, the counterintuitiveness, and kind of the general absurdity of mathematics. The game series that's still on my channel is still a fairly good snapshot of my views on the subject. Again, if you get really bored, you can kind of dig back in my archives and maybe find something interesting in there. Regarding the area of question that I have far more contemporary interest in, when do we start kind of expanding the range of consideration? And again, we're not talking about diving feet first into unsolved mysteries territory. We're just more saying that the terms in which certain parties are proposing we describe the entirety of our experience are insufficient to describe insufficient to describe that which we already experience. For that matter, they're insufficient to describe the mechanisms, abstractions, and apparati by which they are proposing that we use this very limited language. Um, uh, uh, Also in my archives, the Gesamtkunstwerk series, a little less straightforward, but one of the few times when I fully indulged in saying what I wanted to say the way I wanted to say it, rather than trying to retrofit the expression to the context in which the dialogue was occurring. So those if you are interested. But to the questions that you have proposed, and again, I am not speaking in challenge or opposition. I generally agree with the angles that you've been taking on these issues and through this series of exchanges. I would add a supplemental question, which is if through these various examples of triangle, like say we have an arithmetic expression which we recognize to be a description of the dimensions and attributes of a triangle. We have a digital non-human readable representation, which is a series of charged and uncharged bits of media, generally in a spirally arranged magnetic medium platter. That's the way we're still, for the most part, doing that kind of thing. We have the two-dimensional representation of a triangle projected onto our computer screens, which I would argue is two-dimensional. I would agree with you there. Because the information is entirely two-dimensional. Depth has no pertinence to the representation or conveyance of the information. And if anything, like you were saying, that our eye creates with these images the illusion of three-dimensionality, like in this video right here. Our brains, we project this illusion of three-dimensionality. Well, basically, look at the rest of your screen, and you are projecting the illusion of two-dimensionality. Anyway, so that aside, adding to that, also the kind of quasi-three-dimensional representation of the crayon on the paper, or the lines drawn in the sand, where again the pertinent information does not reside within within a dimension of depth, but the medium itself still requires depth. in all of these in all of these varied representations of a triangle, we still have this notion of triangle. We still have this idea of that is a triangle, that is a triangle, that is a triangle, that is a triangle, although the figures, the material existence, the dimensionality, and even the means, medium, and frame of liberty of interaction with these differing things, radically different in every case, but we recognize all of them as triangle. What is the dimensionality of that? What is the dimensionality of that triangle to which we analogize all of these differing things? And once we have, if we have a definitive answer to that question, then we may be on our way to kind of building some dialogue between the more transsubjectivist, conceptualist approaches to these sorts of questions, and the more structuralist, materialist kinds of bents. But anywho, keep it up. And again, if you get really bored, no, I've logged quite a bit of time on this stuff before.